Impala Platinum has reported a 38% drop in its full-year basic earnings per share, headline earnings per share that is, to 6.90 cents. And of course it was hurt by that 6-week violent strike action at Impala not so long ago. The world's second largest platinum producer saw gross profit down 40% to just under 7 billion rand. We caught up earlier on with Terence Goodlace, the CEO, to talk about these numbers. Here's that conversation.
If one looks at the industries and one looks at operating in Africa, there's many similarities. If you look at what's happening in gold and the style of mining in platinum, very similar. If you look at the commodities, I think the commodities are quite different. Gold is different to platinum. Platinum is more of a commodity. It's similar to copper. So from that perspective, there are some similarities. But in essence, the platinum industry is quite unique.
And for you, having just started in July, so it's a very short time to be coming in at this rather challenging juncture for the industry. For you, what are the short-term objectives for Impala Platinum?
Very key for me in the short term is to normalise the operating environment for our Impala Rustenburg operations, as well as solving the Zimbabwe indigenisation challenge that we have. Overall, one can't ignore safety. We are very unhappy with where we are on a safety performance perspective, and we've already implemented a huge amount of change with regard to safety, even in this short period of time.
Terence, if we look at the performance over the past year, headline earnings per share down by 38%, production down 21%, more or less as the market had expected given the 6-week strike in February and March. If we can take this to the state of the platinum industry, the industry is in surplus, your cutback in production and for the South African industry as a whole, to what extent will this contribute to a reduction in the general market surplus?
Yeah, we believe that surplus is going to get mopped up pretty quickly. I don't believe the market has factored in the supply issues in the country, and I also don't believe the market is really seeing that the fundamental drivers in the automotive demand side, are actually a lot more resilient than people think. If we look at car sales, for instance, in this year alone, you're probably heading to record sales, probably approaching something like 81 million units. And that's all good for platinum.
So what you're suggesting is there is some recovery, some fair performance on the demand side, and with the production side coming back given strike-related stoppages. There nevertheless are some calls for some of the big players, yourselves, Implats, to cut back rather dramatically on production in order to influence the platinum price. What's your response to that?
Yeah, we need to look at profitability. I mean, that's very important for us, and we've already looked at some cash preservation measures. We have some headroom in that we can still reduce our capital spend first rather than the production side. It's important for us to restore production levels. We're still not where we should be from an Impala Rustenburg perspective. And in actual fact, we are going to produce less than we have before. We've been giving guidance that Impala Rustenburg on its own will probably go from 750,000 ounces this year to probably something of the order of 850 next year, and not restore fully to 900,000 ounces. One of the things that I've done since I've taken over is I've actually stopped one of the shafts on the UG2 section from a safety perspective, and that's impacted 40,000 ounces. And we're going to continue to stop operations if they're not safe from our own perspective, and that will depress production. We do ultimately, however, need to restore to above 900,000 ounces because we're a fixed cost business, and we need to make sure that we are sustainable into the future, but it must be safely first.
And we saw that in these results with production coming back by 1/5, unit costs going up by 24%, so a combination of reduced production as well as higher costs, particularly in the South African market.
That's absolutely correct.
You refer to CapEx. You seem to have plans to cut back the 2013 spend by just under 1 billion, but you say you're on track with this 5-year plan with your new shafts 16, 17 and 20. How are those projects faring? Are they on track, on budget?
Yes, we announced to the market last year on 20 shaft that we would delay the production build-up by a year. In actual fact, that is now passed, and we are doing the production build-up at 20 shaft. We've made a decision that we're not going to cut any capital on those shafts right now. We're in the long-term business. We need to look at production ounces into 2020 and beyond, And on that basis, one needs to stay in the game. If one looks at the Impala Rustenburg area per se, over the next 5 years, out of the 9 old shafts, 6 will be closed, and we need to replace those with these new major projects.
Terence, if we could talk about the labour issue, the massive labour discontent which we saw at Lonmin had its roots at your Rustenburg operation. What's your opinion on the root cause of this? Is it about money? Is it about union rivalry? Or some even say poor leadership on the part not just of government but also the mines?
I think we have to go back. This started long before even Impala earlier this year, and there were previous disturbances at Marikana almost a year ago. And I think there's got to be a lot of introspection here. We've got to look at ourselves and how we connect with our employees. I think the union has to look at themselves of how they connect with the employers as well, and how we act and interact. There's obviously in any situation where you have this dissonance, there's got to be an underlying reason. But it's very, very complicated. As I've got into it over the last 6 weeks, there's more to this than meets the eye, and one can see what's happening across the industry with almost these wildcat stoppages happening across all of the operations. And that's why we've been engaging at the highest level. We've said that we need intervention at the highest level, at a union level, at a leadership chamber of mines level with ourselves and with the government.
If I could ask you more deeply, does this represent a change, a recent change in TAC, perhaps in the last week or so, on your part?
No, I don't believe so. We've been talking about it for quite a while, but obviously the Lonmin event has really raised the bar, and I think it's got everybody's attention, and it's for all the right reasons, because we cannot continue in the same vein.